Alright, everybody wants to know what's going on with the Pinkie, so I'm going to go ahead and make an update about the Pinkie. This is week 12, actually it was week 12 a couple days ago as of Friday, and today is Sunday. So I actually don't go to see the surgeon for my final follow-up, or what should be my final follow-up, until this Thursday, which would be almost 13 weeks. Didn't time fly by, guys? I mean, this summer just went. So let me set this camera up and we'll show you where I'm at. Alright guys, well, here's the Pinkie, and this is what we've got right now. So originally, if you hadn't seen the whole series of this progression here, I sliced my finger right across here with glass, cut the tendon, cut the nerve that controls the end of my Pinkie here. So I still always had control of this portion of my finger and this portion, but the end tendon was completely severed. So after 12 weeks of recovery and physical therapy and everything else you can imagine thrown at this thing, here's what we got. Now I'm going to show you my other Pinkie real quick first so you can see what it should be doing. That sucker just curls right up at all the joints. I can make a fist. Here's what I got with this guy. I just can't make that fist. It just doesn't work. And it's kind of a shame because it was a long recovery and a lot of physical therapy, and in the end the part that I actually injured doesn't work. But I'm still alive and I still have a finger, whether it works or not. Now the real disadvantage to this is it has kind of diminished my grip by quite a bit on this side, and you guys wouldn't believe how much grip the Pinkie helps provide. I mean, it's like this whole end here of your hand just really gives you a strong grip, and if you don't have that, you lose a lot of it. We've been using a calibrated device to test my grip strength at therapy, and I have about 130 pounds of pressure that I can grip with this hand. And I'm only at, I think I got up to 85 pounds with this hand. Yeah, the last appointment, last Tuesday, I got up to 85 pounds. But I just can't curl the end in. I just don't have any control of the end of that. It's a little bit sore still trying to bend it. But that's where it is, guys. You wanted to see an update, and that's the update. It just doesn't work all the way, unfortunately. Now, along with that, and I will say, I've been figuring out how to do all my normal daily activities. I can write again. That's probably the most frustrating thing, because I can't completely curl that Pinkie under, and so sometimes it gets in the way when I write, but it's like a minor thing. I'm able to figure it out. I'm able to grab things and do things. It's rare that you would actually need to grab something by curling it all the way in, unless you're holding something really tight in your grip. But like a broom handle, you almost don't notice. In fact, like if I'm grabbing something, I can grab it like that, and the end doesn't really grip down good, but I can kind of grip with these two portions of my finger right here. It's not as strong, but it is what it is. And so, and a lot of that is just due to the fact that there's so much scar tissue in here, so it doesn't completely wrap really tight around things. But time will tell. I think over time a lot of that scar tissue will soften up, and it won't go away, but it'll probably soften up and become more pliable. Now, having shown you all this, I have a question for you guys, because I'm about to face a very big decision. Let's go talk about it. So here's the thing. I go to my last appointment this Thursday coming up, and at that appointment, I actually have a physical therapy appointment right after that appointment, and my therapist told me that as soon as that session is done, he's going to discharge me from his services, which is fine, because we've thrown everything at the finger here, and there's just, there's nothing that I can't continue to do for the rest of my life to keep this flexible and pliable, although it won't work. At least I can kind of keep working it and trying to keep it flexible. So we're going to be done after next Thursday. However, there's been talk about a second surgery. And hear me out here for a second, because I'm not sure if I want to go through this again. But I really want your opinion on this. So here's the deal. The reason that this was like a 3-month recovery for this tendon is because the tendon was actually severed and they had to reattach it. Then I was in that splint for 6 weeks, and it was to prevent me from actually using the tendon, using the muscle down here and pulling on that tendon and ripping it back apart from the sutures where it was sewn together. Now the tendon is healed. So if I were to go into another surgery, all they would be doing is removing scar tissue in there to free up the tendon that's already healed so that it can pull through. That's the problem. The tendon healed together, but with it, a bunch of scar tissue basically glued the tendon to the surrounding structures. So the tendon's healed. I can actually, I'll show you guys real quick. This is what I got. I can hold my finger like this, and I can kind of, let me see if I can, I don't know if you can see it. It's hard not to move the other one. That's what I got. Like a couple millimeters or a millimeter or something. That's as far as I can bend that finger. So the tendon's intact. It's actually healed, but it's glued to all the surrounding structures with scar tissue. So what they do then is they cut it back open. And then they take a little tool. I've looked all this up online. They take a little tool that looks like a shoehorn kind of, only it's a tiny little shoehorn, and they cut everything back open, and then they put that little shoehorn in between the pulleys, the tissues that the tendon glides in. They put it between the pulleys and the tendon, and they go all around the tendon and break up all the scar tissue so that the tendon is then not stuck to the surrounding structures and the pulleys and all that. It's then freely able to move back and forth in the finger so that when I use my muscle to pull that end down, it would glide and actually curl in. So that's where the dilemma comes in. I've paid around $5,000 in total medical expenses from start to finish in this. The insurance kicked in a lot, and then my part was about $5,000, and then 3 months off work. So my point is, I've got a lot of money and time invested in this finger that doesn't work, but we're 90% there. I feel like I've gotten all the way to the edge of the cliff and I'm looking over, you know, and maybe that's a bad analogy. Maybe I shouldn't jump off. But anyway, I feel like I'm 90% there. I paid all this money and time and energy into getting that tendon back together and healed, which it is now. And if I just go a little bit further, I'd get that finger back again. I'd get it working. To what extent, I don't know. The therapist says it'll never work 100% like this finger again, which I'm okay with. It'll probably only go about that far. I said, why? What if I was really just dedicated to working this thing day in and day out? He said, well, maybe you will get a lot more out of it, but it's never going to bend quite like this one. But the thing that would be nice is if I could actually engage it and use it. Right now I can't even use it. In fact, when I try to grip things, sometimes it doesn't bend in, so it wants to hyperextend, and it gets pretty tender. But you know, I can deal with that. I could go the rest of my life and work around this issue. I've gotten back into weightlifting. It's been 12 weeks. They've kind of set me free to lift weights again. I'm able to do some body weight pull-ups again. So, you know, at first it was a little bit difficult because I didn't have quite the grip to hang on to the bar with this hand, but I'm learning, and this finger is actually becoming much stronger now and kind of taking the place of this finger when it comes to strength on gripping things. But it would be so nice to be able to actually engage the end of that finger and at least curl it in a little bit and positively be able to grip something with it. Here's the reason why. If I was 60 or 70 years old, I may not care. But I'm 40 years old and I've got the rest of my life to go. Is this worth it? So that's my question to you guys. Is this actually worth it? Do you think I should go through with saving my pinky? Should we start a campaign, Save Mike's Pinky? Or should I just say forget it, deal with this little bit of an annoyance, I guess you'd call it, or a nuisance? It's more mentally frustrating than anything because, you know, for 40 years I've been bending that, making a full fist, and now I'm just like, I just want to bend it in and I can't. And at times it's more frustrating than others, but I'm learning to live with it. It is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it unless I go back and have that second surgery. So Would you guys do that second surgery? Now, here's the other thing that goes along with that question. And I should tell you guys this little bit of information so that you can help make your decision to help me. The second surgery wouldn't be the same. It would be a simpler surgery. They wouldn't have to rejoin a tendon together and a nerve. That was the other thing. I cut the nerve. I'm starting to get feeling back in this finger. Not a lot, but a little bit of feeling, which that's inconsequential. I could, really care less about the feeling part. It was the actual movement of it that I wanted back. But I'm starting to get some feeling back. Now, if we did the second surgery, it would be, I believe, a quicker surgery. It would be, he may not have to open the whole finger up again, and they may not have to put me completely out. In fact, I think they have to keep me a little bit awake for part of it so that once he frees up the scar tissue, he can say, bend your finger, and I can actually physically show him that it works now before he sews me up and sends me on my way. The recovery time would be way, way quicker. Instead of 6 weeks in a splint and then 6 more weeks of therapy and all this time off work, it would only be 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, he said, but I think 3 weeks I could probably swing it. 3 weeks off of work, and really that's just long enough to have a couple weeks of therapy working that finger and then making sure that that wound closes up all the way before I go getting it dirty and doing whatever I need to do at work. So it'd just be 3 weeks of recovery. And I'd actually, the day after surgery, I'd go right back into the therapist the next day, and I'd be actively working that grip. And that was another question. A lot of people say, well, if you have the second surgery, what prevents the scar tissue from building up from that surgery? Well, this is the difference. Now the tendon's healed. So if they remove the scar tissue around the tendon, I actually start from day one working that finger and gripping it, going through the entire active range of motion, using the muscle down here and pulling it into a full grip. And I do that nonstop all day, continuously, every hour or so until it completely heals up, and then I don't have to worry about it quite so much. But because that tendon's now together and healed, I don't have to go through the splint and all that garbage again. Yes, scar tissue will build up again underneath the skin and around the structures in there and all that, but I will constantly be working that tendon in there so that it can't glue to the surrounding tissues. The surrounding tissues will build up scar tissue, but the tendon won't glue to it. It'll always be free moving, and I'll be able to bend that little sucker. So I know that was a lot to say about that, but that's my question that I posed to you guys. Should we start a campaign, Save Mike's Pinkie, or should we move on with life? I don't know. What would you guys do in your situation at 40 years old? If I do this one, it's going to cost me, I think, I've estimated somewhere around another $6,000, because it's going to be the cost of the surgery and the time off work. And this time I don't have vacation or sick time to use at all because I blew through that already. So we're looking at about $6,000 and another 3 weeks off of work. This Pinkie is getting expensive, guys. I don't know. With all those variables in mind, what would you guys do? Please comment down below. Let me know. I really am interested in what you guys think. I've heard different sides of the coin. I've heard some people say, dude, count your blessings. You can get on with the rest of your life with it. And trust me, I have met plenty of other people who've had worse injuries than this, and this is not that big of a deal. But here I am. It's my position that I'm in, and I've got to decide what to do with it for me moving forward. If I was hit by a car and I was a quadriplegic, then I would have to figure out what to do in that situation. But I'm not in that situation, and this isn't that bad of an injury, but it's my position that I got to figure out what to do with from here on. So I just got to figure out what I want to do, and I'm really interested in your guys' opinion based on if you were 40 years old, you could figure out to come up with $6 grand and 3 weeks off of work, and it would make the end of your Pinkie work again, and you'd be able to get a full grip. A lot of this may be a hard decision for you guys to see just because you're not living it. Try to make a fist without bending the end of your Pinkie. It gets very frustrating after a while, but I can live with it, I can deal with it, and I'm sure over time it will get better and better. I've heard other people say, Mike, you got to do this, man. You got to finish this thing up. You got to finish it up. You got to get the Pinkie working again. You're almost there. Just go through one more. Do it. So I've heard both sides of the coin. Let me know in the comments down below. I hope you guys have a fantastic week, and after I have this appointment next Thursday, I'll give you an update on what's going on, what kind of decisions we're looking at. A lot of it's going to depend on what the doctor says in his office. If he looks at it and says, Mike, look, I've done lots of these before. You really need to have the second surgery. It's going to free your finger up. You're going to be able to use it again. This is a good thing, especially at your age. We're going to move forward. We should do this. I really highly recommend it. I've had good outcomes. Then I'll probably go, well, maybe we should do this. But if he looks at it and he goes, I don't know, those fingers are tough, I'm probably going to turn around and walk out the door. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you guys are getting everything you need out of this. For you people who've had the same surgery, I hope this doesn't happen to you and it doesn't get freed up with or get locked up with scar tissue like this, but this is my situation. So have a fantastic week, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.